Welcome to the Upland, where the metaverse meets real life. A place where we speak our minds, no sugarcoating, just a raw vibe. Don't be fooled by what you see, this channel's not for the faint of heart. We dive deep into the unknown, tearing down walls right from the start. The vulgar Uplander may shock, but never judge a book by its cover. This is the space where anything goes, no limits, no filter, just flow. Embrace the chaos, let your true self show. The vulgar Uplandlander is here to shake things up. Buckle up, let's ride and never give up. We navigate through the digital realm, exploring what's beyond the screen. Unafraid to speak our minds, uncovering truths that need to be seen. The vulgar Uplander speaks the unspeakable, challenges the status quo. In this ever-evolving metaverse where possibilities flow. Say what you mean what you say. This is the space where anything goes, no limits, no filter, just flow. Embrace the chaos, let your true self show. The vulgar Uplandlander is here to shake things up. Buckle up, let's ride and never give up. This is the space where anything goes, no limits, no filter, just flow. Embrace the chaos, let your true self show. The vulgar Uplander is here to shake things up. Buckle up, let's ride and never give up. This is the space where anything goes, no limits, no filter, just flow. Embrace the chaos, let your true self show. The vulgar Uplandlander is here to shake things up. Buckle up, let's ride and never give up. This is the space where anything goes, no limits, no filter, just flow. Embrace the chaos, let your true self show. The vulgar Uplandlander is here to shake things up. Buckle up, let's ride and never give up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Vulgar Uplander, and welcome to Kicking It with the Homies with Squallmuzza. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you're all good.
What is that name? Tell me all about that name, because I look at that and I have a different name in my head than that. Where's Squallmuzza come from?
So it's just an old nickname from like way back when I was still at school, even. So Squall is a Final Fantasy character, and then the Muzza part comes from like a nickname that I just got from my surname, basically.
Okay.
And then Squall is taken everywhere, Muzza is taken everywhere, but Squallmuzza isn't. So mash the two together.
Awesome. I wish I had something that was, if I could have changed my name in Upland, if I could, I would change it. But, like many people have said, you pick a name and then you get stuck with it and you can never change it. And because Upland doesn't let you, which is unfortunate. But mine's just a weird name from when I was in like 7th grade.
It's funny how those things just stick.
Yeah. It was a throwaway name. So I just use it for things I'm unsure about. And then the Bearded Warrior, I could X1. If you'll let me, I won't change to the Bearded Warrior, but I'll change it to something fun. Anyway, yeah. How are you doing today, man?
Yeah, no complaints from me. It's just off the back of a long weekend, so actually feeling a bit rested and got a chance to get back into the flow of things today. So yeah, no complaints. How's it on your end?
It's great. Yeah, this is the end of my long weekend. I took my birthday off on Saturday, and then I spent 2 days celebrating that, And then, yeah, we had Memorial Day yesterday, doing some barbecuing and hanging out with friends and family. And then today, I get to hang out with you. So I'm
So
super
it's all
stoked.
downhill from yesterday then.
Yeah, we're fucked at this point. Yeah. So when I originally had talked to you, we talked about scheduling it for Monday, and you're like, no, it's a holiday. Did you, because you work for a US company, do you have to, you get the day off as well, even though you don't
No,
live in the US?
it's actually a UK holiday as well. I'm not sure what the reason behind it is. We don't know
Really?
the reason for like most of our holidays in the UK. It's just it's an excuse to have a day off, so why not? It just
Okay.
happened to align with the US for this one for some reason.
I did not know that. I guess you learn something new every day. So you are based in the UK. I don't know
Yes,
if
that's
it,
right.
okay. Where at in the UK are you at?
So I'm in a city just sort of southeast of London,
Okay.
sort of like a little ways out from London, but not too far.
Okay. So this is completely off topic, but this is a little something that I had learned not too long ago. So there's a difference between like the UK and Great Britain. Is this
Yeah, that's right. And Great Britain is made up of the UK. I could be completely wrong, getting it the wrong way around because I always forget. But one of them is made up of the same thing plus a bunch of extra islands and stuff like that.
okay?
But yeah, like I forget which way around it is, whether it's UK that's the large one or Great Britain that's the larger one. But yeah, I think that's like back from the days where the UK used to go everywhere around the world and own little parts of it for fun and profit. And we've just kept stuff from way back then.
So there are some people that identify as like English and British. Is that a pretty typical thing?
Yeah, I think it's more like a patriotism thing. Like some people are very like hardcore. I'm English. Like I don't involve myself with the other parts of the UK. I'm just pure English through and through, and just get a little bit wild with the patriotism of being from England specifically. And then British people are, I guess, a little bit more chill about their backgrounds being a bit of an amalgamation of everything around the UK.
Okay. Where do you land on that spectrum?
I guess I would say I'm British more than anything else because I've got some Scottish blood, I've got some Welsh blood in me from like higher generations. So we're all from the world at the end of the day. Like if you go back through and do like some of those genetic tests and whatever else, everyone's got
Yeah,
parts of the entire world in them in some degree, right? So
that's true. Yeah, I have all kinds of, well, I know it says British, uh, and Irish and Italian and all kinds of crap.
mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I've been trying to figure this out as a dumb American. Um, I grew up in a really small town, so I feel like there's just so much information that I didn't get, and so I've just been trying to figure it out as I go through life. Now that I'm 42, I feel like I need to be more enlightened in my life. So I got to ask these tough questions for me.
Life's all
Oh,
about learning.
yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I love. I don't ever want to stop learning. That sounds real cliche, I suppose, but I mean, the older I get, the more I feel that way. Like, yeah, I just want to learn more shit.
Yeah, I get you. The problem is that I find is the older I get, the harder it becomes to learn new stuff. Like I don't know, my brain's starting to slow down the older I get and learning the new stuff. It just doesn't soak in the same way as it did when I was a lot younger.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. It makes it like way, way harder.
Hmm.
I have ADHD on top of that, so it's like if it isn't something important, it's gone. It's way gone. So
Same friend. I'm in the same boat, so I know exactly what you mean.
yeah, it sucks. My wife will, tell me all kinds of stuff and say, "Hey, don't you remember me telling you?" I said, "No," but then my kid will say something really funny, and I'll remember that like from 3 or 4 years ago. She's like, "Why do you remember that, but you don't remember what I told you yesterday?" I don't know. You know, it's not
Yeah.
important enough to remember, I suppose, but that's the wrong answer.
Yeah, that'll get you in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it generally does, which is often the route I take for whatever stupid reason. Anywho, yeah. So Upland. So you work for Upland. How long you been with Upland for?
It's about 3.5 years, roughly, at this point,
Okay.
maybe a little bit over.
Are you hating your job yet, or what?
No, you know what? This is easily the best job I've had.
Awesome.
The team around me, like with every job that I've had in the past, I always find that it's like, oh no, not that guy. There's always that one person, or at least one person in the workplace where you're like, oh no, not this dick again. Like I don't want to be dealing with them. But there isn't anyone like that at Upland. Like everyone's super friendly, super nice to each other. I try to help each other out wherever they can. If there's like a group thing that we can collaborate on, they always jump in. Like it's awesome. Like I've really got no complaints.
Well, that's good. I really thought Dave would be riding you hard on this one, but he seems to be a nice guy as he
Yeah,
appears on channel too.
yeah, he's a great guy. Like behind the scenes, he's exactly as you see him. Really, like he's just super friendly, super helpful. Always makes time for you if you need anything. Like he's a really good guy.
So how does that hierarchy work? So you're a community manager, right?
Yep.
So is he your boss, or how what's the
Yeah. So
hierarchy here?
he's the head of community. So
Okay.
he's directly over me, and then he then reports into like the leadership team and stuff like that.
Okay. Are there people? Are you in charge of anybody?
Not at the moment, no.
So you're. This is going to sound bad, but I'm in the same boat. You're bottom of the community manager. Uh, I guess I don't know. Hierarchies and maybe hierarchy is the right word. Like I'm just like I work in correction, so like I'm just you know one tiny step above like your base corrections officer.
hmm
So you
But
okay?
yeah. I'm the bottom of the chain, if you will. I'm the one
Bottom of
that's
the barrel.
the troop on the ground.
Yep. Boots on the ground out there banning people, doing God's work.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So what do you do when you're not out there banning people and silencing people out in the community? What do you do outside of Upland?
I'm a gamer for the most part, so
Okay.
I've got a ludicrously large Steam library of various different titles. I'm mostly into like story-driven stuff for the
Okay.
most part, but I'll play more or less anything generally. But that's what takes up most of my time.
What's your game of choice these days?
I've been darting around a few different bits and pieces of late. Like I like really goofy, like weird simulator games that are like almost like doing a real job but playing it in a game. There's
Mhm.
um there's something to be said for relaxing by doing someone else's job, I guess. But yeah, I find them kind of oddly fun.
I just saw I play most of my games on Xbox. Sometimes I play on PC. I used to do a lot more PC gaming, but they have a firefighter and a police officer simulator game. Have you
Mm,
seen those?
I've seen them. I was thinking about downloading them like just the other day, actually, and I probably will at some point.
That seems horrible to me.
I don't know, like it's dipping into and obviously it's all like fantasy and uh like arcadey, like it's not sort
Yeah.
of like the real grit of doing it in real life and whatever else. But I don't know, I find that stuff oddly fun. Like it's just an escapism from the thing that you're doing at the moment. Like everyone likes a taste of something a little bit different, I guess.
Yeah. For me, again, I look at those and I'm like, "Ugh, that's too much like work, like real work. Like I work in a prison. So the last thing I want to do is go work with more criminals or play as criminals. Maybe that's why I can't get into GTA.
hmm
Because
Yeah, that's it. Got to play the thing that you have to deal with every day, right?
yeah, I mean sometimes that's fun, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Um, I can't do it. No, it's not for me. GTA, I am too ADHD for that game. I get on one tangent, and before I know it, I'm getting chased by the police from across town, and I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm at, and I get pissed off, and I have to rage quit. So I have
Yeah,
to
the
have
thing
like
with
I'm like a more linear kind of guy.
hmm Yeah, I am for the most part as well. But the thing with GTA is constantly popping up with like, hey, do this thing, do this thing. This person wants to collaborate on this mission. Hey, there's another mission available. Do you want to do a heist? Like it's just
Yeah,
constantly going at you, trying to get you to do different things, even if you are on a task at that point in time.
it's the worst. It's the worst for my brain. It's such a good game too, but I just can't. I can't get into it. It
Yeah,
kills
I
me.
can see the struggle for sure.
What about Metaphor of Refantasio?
Yeah, so I played that through twice now. Played it once just for my own sake, and then I played it for stream because I stream on the side as well. So the very, very good RPG game. It's got a lot of good commentary about the real world held within it as well, and it's a very engrossing, all-encompassing experience. Very much recommend it. It was my game of the year last year.
Okay, I've never even. I've heard of the name, but never played it.
According to X1, it's coming out on Game Pass soon. I didn't know, but apparently it's coming out on Game Pass quite soon.
X1 knows everything about games. It seems like.
Yeah,
He played.
he schools me on a regular basis on like what's coming up and what's happening soon. So,
I see
especially
his X posts, and yeah, he's all over it. It's coming out on Thursday on Game Pass. Well, shit.
there you go.
You know, I think Upland needs to do like a Game Pass, maybe not Game Pass, but like I don't know, all the cool like layer 2 things. They need to put that in the game where you can just like link right out to it. I know you can find it out in the world, but it's hard to find. I wish there was just like I don't know, like some easy way to find all the layer 2 things. I know there you can find them, but again, it's not easy, especially if you're brand new.
So like a directory almost of like
Yeah,
listing them all out, what they do, a little description about it. That's good feedback. That's something to keep in mind. I'll take that along with me after we finish up here.
yeah, just like another like tab or something that says, "Oh, look, here's." I know there's some stuff coming out that got pushed back. Like let's just say like Next World or like
Mhm.
the stuff that uh what is it? I'm drawing a blank. The ninjas are working on their little ninja battle game. Things like that, these layer 2 experiences that are coming up. Yeah, just like, kind of like a page or something that has like all their, you know, thumbnails and stuff or something. You can click like, oh, that thing looks cool. Let me go to that versus what is it, like a purple dot on the map?
Yeah, it's just a dot on the map. So and then obviously you need to find that dot on the map as well. So
Yeah.
it's not the most direct method of getting to things.
Yeah. And same with like the up I don't know why I'm having the hardest time with words today. UPX land. Like
Hmm.
I know everybody talks about how Upland needs to have like their own first party version of this, but if Upland isn't going to do something like that, is there any reason why Upland couldn't just straight link to UPX land and say, hey, this is the best way to find, properties and information about this game that you guys can't necessarily or haven't provided? Is there something that you guys are? Is there a roadblock there to like getting like a link out to, especially to new players that don't know their ass from the hole in the ground when it comes to like finding deals or properties or anything like that?
Um, I don't know, to be honest. I suppose there's nothing like directly stopping us from doing that, other than it would be perhaps slightly preferential treatment to list one layer 2 so prominently and not list other layer 2s as prominently as that one, especially when you start talking about like they have a subscription, for example, right?
Mhm.
So promoting something that's actually got some kind of like profit making mechanism in it as well, promoting that above other people's efforts, because some people do offer like not the exact same tools and not as quite a broad tool set as UpXLand does, but they still offer some of the same things, right? So I
Right.
think it would be a little unfair for us to directly link to UpXLand the exemption of all others.
I guess, yeah, I guess I can see that. That makes sense. I mean, what's fair, really? I think I get it, but at the same time, like for me, I'm like, who cares about the other people, not who cares, but you know, like if you have the best product out there, you want that thing to be highlighted. Like I could make some sort of database, but if it sucks, right? And not very many people are going to go to it. If you have this thing that meets the needs of the community, meets exactly what people need, right? Why wouldn't you want to like put your best foot forward? Not say that you wouldn't have the other avenue of like, hey, you can go check out this other thing if you want to, but this is the thing that most highlights what we need for the community. Go look at this thing. Why wouldn't you want to do something like that? And that I'm just thinking out loud. I'm not necessarily saying what you have to have the answer to that.
Yeah, sure. Like I think we do try to recommend it as much as possible. Like in the in-game chat, for example, I'll quite often pop in the link to Upland when people are asking about how to sell their properties or where to sell their properties and what price should I sell my property at, and when they come up with those kinds of questions. So we try to direct people towards it in a general way, and in the Discord as well, like trying to direct people to it in a general fashion. I just feel like posting it directly in the game as like some kind of attachment to like a property card or something like that, I think would be perhaps like stepping over a certain line of recommendation that would be unfair to other layer twos.
Have you guys had much thought? I know this wasn't necessarily something I had put on that sheet, to like adding your own sort of marketplace where you could find things like an UPX Land or one of the other popular sites you can go look for properties. How has Upland first party looked at doing something like that? And if so, how come we haven't seen it?
That I'm not sure on. Like, I know we're always looking at making improvements to the various different information points that we have within the game. Like improving the search filters, for example, I think will go a long way towards resolving some of the friction there, which is something that we're actively working on. Like we already added some search filters into the game a little while back, and we'll continue to add more filters across the course of time. But things like that, like improving the base offering that we have, is definitely something that we are looking to do and actively working on. As far as like creating something that looks and feels as complete as Upland does, I'm not sure whether we'd do anything quite as extreme and quite at the scale of that necessarily. But improving the base offering that we have, and like I say, the filters and discoverability and stuff like that, is absolutely something that's on our to-do list.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's another task in and of itself, is creating this whole marketplace. But yeah, I do know that like it is very difficult. Like my wife just signed up to be a player, and I was asking her today about it, and she goes, "Yeah, I haven't checked in for over a week because I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I don't know where to find certain things." I'm like, "Oh, I'll help you with that later today." But you know, she's like, I think you're probably a pretty typical end user. That is just like, there's a lot going on here, and I don't know where to even go or begin, or how do I find a good deal, you know? But
yeah, like we try to point people towards like some initial touch points through the mission center and through the explore center that try to guide people through like those first steps. The mission center obviously incentivizes people to do those first steps as well, but the explore center has like more sort of in-depth click by click guides within it as well. So that's a good place to start. Or third party resources, like the community is fantastic for making resources for practically everything within the game as well. So there's always a point that they can learn from even outside of the game as well.
Yeah, I guess my only hang up with the community piece, like if you don't even know you like this game yet, you're probably not going to go reach out to the community. Or if you're a shy person, you're probably not going to be out there like, oh, I'm going to go talk to some random stranger on the internet. and see if they can help me, figure out this game.
Sure, but you might give it a quick Google or a YouTube search where some of those
Yeah.
resources are, and be able to pick things up from there. And that may even invite you into the community in a way, as you get to know the various different creators that we have surrounding Upland, and where they're so welcoming and kind towards the community. It can be an in for that even. So there is a potential for that as well.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more as far as like the community goes. Community is the best, one of the best things Upland has going for it. I'm thinking from like my wife's shoes, like reaching out to the community might be like a what's the word? I can't think of the word I was looking for. Anyway, it might be like a roadblock. Not to say she couldn't, but having something just first party, like right in the layer one, that does that piece for you, would be super ideal. To say, hey, everybody, there is a really vibrant community out here. Here's some channels within the game you could link to. You know what I mean? Like even if that was like an admission center, like, hey, here's, I don't know. Maybe there's an algorithm just to randomly go to, or maybe just like the UCN members. Here is the UCN, members, all their videos and stuff. Go check these out, and it links you directly, opens up YouTube from Upland or whatever, or maybe you saved some in the game that people could watch, just to get people going, so that way they know that there's like, hey, there's a community out here. There's people that make content. Because if you're a brand new player, you don't know any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Like, that could again be a useful piece of the puzzle to have, like again, like a directory almost.
Yeah.
With here are some select different bits and pieces that will help get you started, help you get a little more advanced, help introduce you into the community a little bit. And so on and so forth. Like, yeah, I could see some usability out of that.
Yeah, here's your family-friendly ones. Here's your not so family-friendly ones, like this channel. If you don't mind a little swearing and vulgarity, then don't let your kids watch it. Well, you can. All the kids are welcome. Would let my kids watch this if they wanted to, but I'm biased, of course. So what does it look like? What's a day look like for you as a community manager? What's your typical day look like?
Sure. So I guess it changes and fluctuates quite a bit day to day, depending on what's going on at that point in time. Like, for example, we've got Genesis Week coming up in a couple of weeks, so that's going to look a little bit different as we have various challenges on the go and different events popping up and some interesting announcements and different bits and pieces like that. Be a very different looking week. But checking in with the community, making sure everything's going all right, checking in across the socials as well, making sure that we've got everything answered over there and nobody's been left hanging, and we celebrate some of the wins that people have had in the game recently. That's always something I like to do, is like picking up on someone's just hit director for the first time, for example, and celebrating that with them on Twitter, for example, and running through with that, working collaboratively with the team to get any of the announcements out the door as well, making sure that we're cross-checking those and making sure they're all up and working, helping out support with different queries that they get come through that weren't necessarily a support case. They were more of like a general question that the community could answer, or community team rather could answer. Yeah, but it varies from day to day. It really varies quite widely.
Okay, I would imagine, and I know I'm gonna teeter on this line just a smidgen. I would imagine with some of the things that have happened within Upland that your workload has increased a little bit. Could you confirm? I guess you don't have to confirm. Would you agree with that? Do you think you have more on your plate as of late?
I mean, yeah, things are constantly changing within Upland. We've got a busy a busy Genesis week coming up, which amounts to quite a lot of work from all of the team. Certainly not just myself. And yeah, we're working hard for sure. But I mean, we're more than well equipped to be able to handle all of the challenges that are coming our way. So it's all well and good, really.
Yeah, I know that that's something that I think the community is probably concerned about. Is like with, some people going. What is the status of Upland? That's a rhetorical question. I don't expect you to answer that if you don't want to. But are they equipped to handle it? Are we? Because it seems like there have been some delays, like the delay with the cities and their collection reveals. That seemed like a weird delay. It just seemed weird that got delayed. Is Upland in a good place to continue staying on the cadence that they've been staying on and moving forward at the same pace?
Yeah, I'd say so. Unfortunately, we get little blips and bits and pieces that don't go perfectly well from time to time, and I mean that's kind of the nature of a live service game. Unfortunately, it's not great when those things happen, but they can do from time to time. But we're pulling our best for the future development and maintenance of the platform as a whole. And I have the absolute faith in this team to be able to deliver on everything that we set out. I mean, a good example, for example, is our last roadmap. That's pretty much got everything ticked off of it, I think, which was quite a wide range of different bits and pieces that were on there. And I'd say it's like 85-90% ticked off at this point in time.
Oh, wow.
Like compared to where we may have been in the past with roadmaps, like we're doing fantastically well, and you may or may not see more items from that coming up in Genesis week. So because we've still got a little bit of time just at the end of Q2 to slip a few more different bits and pieces in from the roadmap.
Okay, well that's exciting. I need to look at that roadmap again and maybe see what things have been ticked off, because I can't remember them off the top of my head.
It was a long one, to be fair. So
it was, yeah. I got, I shared with you some of these questions there. I wanted to make sure that we had some, there was things you could or could not answer. So how do you balance community feedback with company and strategy, especially when the two are at odds?
So it's always a delicate balancing act. We want to use as much community feedback as we possibly can, because it's things that the community wants, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, and if they want to see it, then it's something that we are keen to deliver upon in some way, if it's at all possible. But we also need to take a long view for the game and its health and the economy surrounding the game, and make decisions that improve its longevity and keep its longevity in place. And sometimes those aren't popular decisions, but we have to take them anyway, because we know that in the long term it's going to be the right decision to make. But we implement player feedback all the time. I feel like that doesn't necessarily get picked up all that often. Like, for example, the most recent Sparklet Wars, the majority of the changes, if not all the changes, were player feedback that we put into this round of Sparklet Wars, and that's something that we like to see, right? The players getting a voice in this new event that we've got running. That's good fun for all involved, and it's just an example of the way that we do implement player feedback as much as we can. It's just not always entirely possible.
Yeah. I was looking at some of the chat here. Umbrella Boy had a good question. This is a bit off topic, but I didn't want to pass it up since this kind of is related to you, I would say. Given that anyone, I'm assuming it says, can have a bad day and say things we might regret, any chance for Amnesty Day for some that have been banned? If not, why not?
Well, typically when we go for like a ban on someone, it's not typically um just a straight ban like out of nowhere. It'll be weeks or days of warnings and timeouts and
Hmm.
repeated like interactions and like almost a general theme with that person of like bad behavior, breaking rules, bending the rules to the point where they nearly break, and pushing and pushing and pushing. And that unfortunately sometimes results in a ban. So given it takes given it takes like a lot of steps to get to that point, or it takes like repeated effort for someone to get themselves to that line, we don't rescind bans because they are really a final resort even for the overall process.
So Upland, what? So once you've been banned, you're banned. There's no coming back from it. What is there any opportunity for people who have been banned to be able to contest the ban if say Upland makes a mistake? I'm sure that there's been times Upland has, maybe banned somebody by mistake, or I know that you have more information than we do, obviously, but like all humans, we make mistakes.
To my knowledge, in the Discord, I don't think we've ever banned someone by mistake, or if we would have, it would have been like a momentary thing, and then they would have been unbanned immediately because it was like a misclick or something like that.
Mm,
But to my knowledge, I don't think even that's happened. Uh, but beyond that, we do have like pretty regular conversations around should we or shouldn't we ban this person if it's been a less black and white issue.
mhm.
Obviously, if someone's like directly broken a rule and broken it severely, then it's more of an on the spot sort of thing. But if it's like a continued pattern of behavior that's a little more grey, then we'll generally discuss it amongst the team and uh, see about how we feel about it. Do we think that they've gone far enough to deserve it at this point? And make a decision as a group, so it's not like a knee jerk thing. It's a carefully considered decision.
Okay. So as far as banning is concerned, that is like a group decision versus like a solo decision, like a you decision, or something like that.
It depends on the circumstance. So, like I say, if it's like a real black and white issue, like someone's just turned around and absolutely started unloading on people for no good reason whatsoever, and they're just going and going and going and going and going and not listening to uh any reprimands or not listening to being timed out or not paying any attention to that, then that'll be like a black and white thing where it's just like, okay, you're gone. Like you're clearly not being productive here. You're clearly not providing a good atmosphere for people to remain within. So that's it. You're gone. Uh, but if it, like I say, if it's more of a grey issue where they're like bending the rules a lot and it's like less clear what they're doing, um, like maybe they're being a little bit facetious with the way that they're talking, or I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like they're mocking us by pretending to be positive when they're actually mocking us, which is like a really grey area because on the surface it looks like they're being all positive and nice,
Hmm.
whereas in actuality they're being really snarky and trying to just mock us at the same time.
Is
So
would you say that's something that being close to the game and maybe knowing that person, you've seen their patterns and stuff, versus an everyday end user would be able to recognize? And if it is not something that an everyday end user would be able to recognize, wouldn't that be okay if the end result is you know more positive than negative?
well, yeah, you could read it that way, but there will be people in the, I guess, more power user end of the spectrum, like the real sort of more dedicated people that are in there every day, all day, conversing. they'll all see that and realize what's going on. Like the average person that are just dipping in on occasion, they probably won't see it. They won't see it for what it is. But there'll be people within like the real regular crowd that will realize what's going on, and yeah, like they'll see what I see basically.
How do you see that as a disruption for the community? And
Because
it would need to be like a timeout or something.
sure, it's because it's just straight up mockery of the company, and it's not within the rules to just take shots at people and the company as a whole. There's a rule about respect within the rule set that's put in place within the Discord that you need to treat everyone with respect, but regardless of any mitigating factors, respect still needs to be at the core of everything. And yeah, like that falls outside of those rules.
Okay, so because this is a fun topic for me, I'm going to push back just a little bit.
Okay.
Because respect is like an arbitrary term. Like, respect to you is different than respect to me. And being that I'm assuming in this job, you need to have thick skin. Why not just kind of like turn the other cheek and be like, okay, well, nobody's saying anything outwardly disrespectful. The whatever it is seemingly positive, even though I know it's not. Why continue? Why even address it? I mean, if we just, my thought is like, well, let's ignore this, versus have to push the issue on it.
Because it develops and it continues and it worsens. The more you give someone an inch, they take a mile, right? That's the saying.
Right. Yeah.
And
I know all about
that. and that kind of is how it goes. The more freedom you give people to do that, they just try something a little more and a little more overt and a little harder and a little more and a little more. Until they're just flagrantly breaking the rules. And the problem really lies within, at that point, where do you draw the line? Well, at what point is enough under that kind of circumstances?
Right.
And it's really difficult to finally draw that line, as opposed to nipping it in the bud when it starts becoming an issue in the first place. It all becomes a bit hazy and a bit grey the further along the line you let it go. So just nipping it in the bud straight up as soon as it becomes an initial problem is by far the most expedient and the most protective thing that you can do for the server.
Okay. So with that being said, where do you draw the line as far as like be able to nip it in the butt and kind of control the server, but also not necessarily infringing on, and I'm going to use this word loosely, infringing on people's rights to have like a freedom of speech or to be able to speak, freely about, their grievances or whatever.
Sure. I mean, I guess the thing that you need to keep in mind is it's a private space run by Upland for the purposes of promoting Upland.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's what the Discord is. And whilst we want to make it as welcoming an environment for everyone to get involved and to have a voice and to have conversations, that is what it is. And if you go to other games, like other large-sized games that have Discords and stuff, if you try to even be constructively critical within there, you're banned. You're gone. If you go in there and say fuck, you're banned. That's it. You're gone. Like there's like absolutely zero tolerance on anything whatsoever that isn't glowing praise for the game.
Okay.
Whereas we are a lot more loose. We're accessible for one. Like we're as like humans, we interact on a regular basis. We're not just there to answer support tickets or direct questions and whatever else. We're there to have a conversation. We allow constructive criticism as long as it remains respectful within the server as much as you like. We receive negative feedback from the Discord that we pass along all the time, and people don't get banned for that. They get thanked for it. It's the point where it becomes disrespectful that people will start to see moderation action taken against them. And yeah, like that's really where the difference lies. Like we operate a lot more loosely than most other servers, I would say, and I think that's a positive for Upland as a whole. And I'm personally very happy with the way that we run the server at this point in time. I feel like we had a time, especially around when I first started, where the server was quite chaotic and it had a lot of bad elements within it. And when I first started, we introduced a new rule set quite soon after I started, and we started implementing that rule set into removing some of those bad elements and creating a better atmosphere for the server. And it's a process that took a very long time. But I feel like we've gotten the server to a good place at this point in time. Like, I feel like we've got good, positive people around. We've got good moderation team as well, like props to our moderation team that we have in place as well. They're fantastic. And yeah, I feel like everything's in place at this point in time.
Okay. So would you say, like, when you took on, this job of like managing the Discord server, that it was a priority for Upland to get the server kind of in check?
I wouldn't
Almost to be
say
like
like we
police?
had. I wouldn't say that we had like any directive or anything like that to go down, but as a team, we decided that we wanted to move into this direction of tightening things up a little bit and making sure that people that are there just to make someone else have a bad day aren't around anymore.
Right.
Because it really felt like that was the case for a while there, where people were just coming in there just to cause grief with other people and cause grief for the company, and that was their sole purpose for being. They didn't care about interacting with other people. They didn't care about bettering Upland. They didn't care about improving things at all. They just wanted to be a flood of negativity, and they just wanted to be causing an issue, basically, like just lashing out. And yeah, as a team, that's something we decided we wanted to address, and so we went about it.
Yeah, I can imagine that is I don't envy the position you're in. So I'm going to say that first and foremost. I'm not saying that, this job is easy and you got to make tough decisions. Sometimes they're going to piss people off. But at the end of the day, I guess you do want to have, like, if you're everyday, new person comes in and you go to the Upland Discord server and all you see is toxic bullshit and people being shitty to one another, that's not a very inviting place for new players to be at. So yeah, I mean, I guess I understand to that degree. Like, yeah, you want to make this a more, well-rounded, safer place for players to come in and get valuable information. I know I've seen some stuff where it does appear to be a little much, but again, it's hard to kind of probably teeter on that line and decipher, what's consistent behavior and what has been building up, and all the backstory, how many warnings have that person had about this thing that you know more about than I do. I can imagine that would be difficult.
Yeah, there's always a bundle of context involved with any moderation that we do. Like, there's always a backstory that comes with it. Like, a timeout generally won't come without some prior activity that they've been doing that has been negative in some way, shape, or form. But like, to go back to the toxic atmosphere that you were saying at the start as well, like, that was absolutely a thing. Like, I remember way back, when I was like just getting into work, like at about 16, 17, I was taught the rule of 10, which is if you give someone a good experience, they're likely to go and tell maybe one person if you're lucky. If someone has a bad experience, they'll go and tell 10.
Yeah.
And that was many years ago, and I'm sure that's as like social media and the reach of people has expanded, that rule has only probably multiplied up from there, right?
Right.
So each person that goes in and sees that toxic atmosphere is likely to scare off 10 other people. Whereas if they came into a nice positive atmosphere, the chances are they might go and tell one person, but they will stick around and actually become somewhat linked into that community. They may not even necessarily communicate, but they're lurking, they're watching, they're being involved in their own way. And I think that's important to keep that in mind with what's allowed to occur.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I have a similar job or a similar task at my job with, I got to deal with these asshole kids. Not all of them are assholes, but many of them are in person, and moderating the things that they say and do, in real time, whether they're cussing somebody out or trying to fight somebody or trying to fight us or whatever the case may be. It is not easy to decipher. And on face value, look at another kid will come in and side bust my conversation and be like, "Hey, what are you getting on that kid for? He didn't do anything wrong." I'm like, well, you don't know all the stuff that I know about this situation. And then if I give them like a little glimpse of that, they're like, okay, yeah, they probably deserve what you're doing. Not 100% of the time, because again, I'm a human and I make mistakes, but most of the time, yeah, there's a lot more to the story generally.
Yeah, I would say that's true in almost every single case that we have, unless it's like a spammer or something like that, or just a bot or something
Yeah,
coming in, and obviously that's just a ban. But everything else, there's always context.
right. Except for in Almost Human's case, he seems to be complaining about being banned. He doesn't know why, but that's just joking. I'm sure he knows why he got banned. Yeah, I'm casually like looking at the chat, and I'm like, I got banned. I'm like, geez Louise, all these people. I'm like, we're not going to unban you. Well, I'm not, but maybe somebody will have a soft heart. I don't know. So as far as banning and like being jailed, what's the line you draw in between, like, hey, you're being real shitty on this server, and at what point does that bleed into the game proper, and somebody gets sent to Alcatraz?
So, I mean, that is reserved for the most extreme of circumstances. We're talking about people who have committed like a campaign of abuse against the team,
Okay.
and like major abuse, and that's the point where we'll step in to go to that extreme, because it removes um, their what's the word I'm looking for? Their value proposition, basically,
Mhm.
to keep involved and to keep causing trouble. It removes any, yeah, don't mind the cat. It removes any attachment that they still have to the game at that point, so they should hopefully move on and stop the abuse.
Okay. So it's not likely. I'm going to give a hypothetical here. If somebody was to say, "Oh, fuck Upland, I hate Upland," everybody's a piece of shit, or even if they came and attacked you personally, Squall's a piece of shit or whatever, that's not necessarily going to get somebody sent to Alcatraz, or
No,
would
no,
it?
no. We're
Okay.
talking about like long-term sustained abuse of
Okay.
a high degree. Like I don't really want to go into specifics for
Right.
the individuals that we've done that with, and it's a very, very, very small number of individuals that we've done that with. But it has to be like seriously sustained, seriously bad.
Hmm. I just know that, like, I've talked to some people that are concerned, like, oh man, if I talk negatively, if I say something, unsavory about Upland, they're gonna ban me, they're gonna send me to Alcatraz, and I'm gonna lose my whole account and all this other stuff, and I'll never be able to get out. And I know that whether that's true or not, perception is reality, and that is a real concern for some players. Like, how is it easy to get sent to Alcatraz? I don't think so.
No.
But yeah, I mean, can we put that to rest on some level? Like, is there something we can say, like, hey, yeah, like, you're gonna have to do something pretty egregious, like saying something negative about Upland, or even saying something negative about, like, the leadership within Upland isn't going to get you sent to Alcatraz. It's going to take some sort of exploitation, or some, like, big event.
Yeah, like X1 said in chat, stalking level stuff. Like, we're talking, you have to go out of your way to a significant degree to get to that stage. Like, it's like deranged behavior that is being put on display to get to that point.
Okay. Are there warnings prior to getting, like, sent to Alcatraz?
Yeah, I mean, like, warnings, timeouts, bans from every other platform, blocked on socials, blocked on multiple accounts on socials because they go to the extent of making multiple accounts to try and get involved. Like, just it's an endless line of stuff going on before it gets to that point.
Okay, so nobody's just getting sent to Alcatraz and be like, what did I do? I don't even know what happened.
No.
They full well know exactly, that maybe not exactly what they did, but they knew leading up to it, like, something's coming. Like, this isn't just a blind side.
No, absolutely not. Like I say, it has to be a very exceptional case before we would take that step.
Okay. So well, that's good to know. I mean, that does hopefully ease some people's minds that are concerned about, having, some negative opinions, because obviously this game isn't going to please everybody all the time. When somebody gets pissed off, I think they should be able to say what they want to say within reason, of course. There has to be a line somewhere. But just knowing that, like, hey, I'm not going to get sent to Alcatraz, I'm not going to lose my whole account, I'm not going to get, I'm not going to lose all this money I've invested or put into this game, because I have a bad opinion of Upland. I mean that's good to know. And like X1's saying right here, yeah, Discord bans do not equal in-game bans. The two are unrelated entirely, which is I think a really good distinction.
Yeah, they are very much separate things. Like, even from Discord and the in-game chat, for example, we treat those as two completely clean slates. If you cause a storm in Discord, you're still allowed in the in-game chat until or unless you cause a storm in the in-game chat, for example. Like,
right.
They are
And vice
viewed
versa.
as separate islands. Yeah, and vice versa. Yeah.
Okay. Well, awesome. I mean, that is good to know. I know I'm looking at some of the chat, and some people are saying that they know people got banned, they didn't know why, but I
mean, as far as, like, Alcatraz as a standalone thing is concerned, there may be people that don't understand why they've gone in there because they didn't understand that multi-accounting isn't allowed, for example, or I don't know, selling stuff an unfair market value isn't allowed, or trading off platform, or what have you. That's a whole different thing. The thing that we're talking about here is people that have committed some kind of, like, abuse towards staff or company, that really we're talking about here, that leads to Alcatraz in those situations, rather than just general rule breaking as far as the game mechanics is concerned.
Yeah. Being that there's, like, monetary value tied to people's accounts, and it can be there can be a pretty significant impact if somebody does get sent to Alcatraz. Is there like a formal write-up, or like something that goes along with that to say, hey, here's what you did, here's where we're at, you're going to be sent to Alcatraz, you're banned, you're done, What does the process look like when you guys do send somebody to Alcatraz, which is like the most egregious of offense, or the most egregious of moderation?
I mean, it's very case by case. So sorry, are you talking about the abuse angle here, or are you just talking about like general Alcatraz?
Well, I guess both. Like, if at any point you get sent to Alcatraz for any reason under the sun, is there some sort of like, documentation that the end user gets for being sent to Alcatraz, so that way they couldn't say, "Oh, I have no idea why I got sent here."
Yeah, so typically we will email out to them to say, hey, you've been placed in Alcatraz for reason XYZ, and these are either the steps that you can take to get yourself out of Alcatraz, because that is possible for certain circumstances,
Hmm.
or this is a permanent move based upon the scale of what you've done, or the extremity of what you've done, or what have you.
Okay. Okay. With those that get banned forever, right? Uh,
Hmm.
are you able to speak on what happens to their account? Like, if they have, assets and those things, like, are those always just stuck there in Alcatraz and those never get moved?
They are stuck there indefinitely as of right now. Like they will just remain attached to that account for forevermore. I don't know whether that would ever change, but I doubt it would, because of true ownership.
Mm,
Like, regardless of the fact that the account is jailed, um, it, it's still attached to that account to some degree, even though they're not going to come back out again.
interesting. Yeah, I'm just thinking of, like, the same goes with, like, dead players, not dead, like really dead. That's I'm not going to get into that today. But players that are no longer active, inactive players.
Hmm.
Like San Francisco, for instance, is probably full of a bunch of inactive players that jumped in the game, early on, and then decided, nah, this isn't for me. So now you have all of these properties that are just, for lack of a better word, dead. Um,
Hmm.
is there any way, and maybe you do or do not know this, again, didn't put that one on that sheet, but is there any way to get those freed up?
So again, because of like true ownership, they will remain attached to those accounts. They are their properties at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Like it's definitely difficult. Like it one of the struggles of being in the field that we're in, that you come across challenges like this, and unfortunately there aren't easy answers all the time as far as that's concerned, because we need to allow them to keep hold of stuff, really.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I guess that kind of answers my question. Like, I mean, it is what it is. You're just kind of stuck with it. Like, you're gonna have, San Francisco is gonna have a bunch of inactive properties, and if you go to Alcatraz, there's going to be a bunch of jailed properties. But uh, not a lot I guess you can do about it, because yeah, the true ownership is an important piece, especially with the blockchain. Um, do you ever foresee, and maybe I don't know if this is within your realm or not, but has there ever been conversation that you know of about changing the terms to some degree? Say, like, a certain amount of inactivity, would put your properties back on the market, or a certain amount of jail time or whatever.
So I know it's, at least for the jail aspect, there've been conversations about it, but I think that's as far as that's gone, really.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been any sort of like direct action or anything taken like that, because again, like, we have that expectation in place of true ownership, and I think that's
Mhm.
important for us to stick with, because that's almost a promise that's been made over the years. So it's a bit hard to get away from that.
Yeah, I can see that. Going back a little bit to, we were talking about, moderation stuff. It just got me thinking about my job a little bit. Do you ever have you ever had people get so pissed off at you they would like threaten you?
Oh yeah, all the time. Like I've had someone turn around to me and say, "Hey, I've got your entire social media history. If you don't want me to do something about that, you'll let me out of Alcatraz." And it's like, well, no, there's nothing. There's nothing in my social media history that's of concern anyway. But even if there were, no. Um. So yeah, people do all sorts of stuff when they get moderated. They do tend to go over the line. There'll be cases where someone gets a timeout for a day and then jumps into DMs and escalates to the point where it needs to escalate from there further within the discords to a longer timeout or something like that. Um, stuff stuff happens, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, people can get wild. We got a lot of I know a lot of a lot of people that well, not maybe not a lot, but some of the people I talk with, and some of the people in this chat is some wild ass people, and I could see them going to some different levels. I know, like if, in my job, I moderate somebody, I might get punched in the face. I almost got punched in the face the other day for like the third time. But
Yeah, that's far from ideal.
yeah, at least on your end, you're behind a keyboard. Nobody's going to come punch you in your mouth. But thank God for that. Yeah,
Yeah, there is that at least, I suppose.
yeah. Unless they know your address, I'm going to find you. I'm going to come. I'm going to come fight you in the UK.
Yeah,
We
I
got
mean, it
all
wouldn't
that
surprise
going.
me if someone said as much, to be perfectly honest. But
Yeah.
or like a Genesis Week live or something like that, or
Do you
whatever.
go to
But
those?
yeah, yeah, I went to the last two, in the previous two. Really good times, like really good times.
Yeah, I was at the last one. It was awesome. Did you race the go karts? Did you get to do that, or did you
I
have to
didn't
do
get to
team
do
stuff?
that. No, yeah, I was like looking after the troops as much as anything. I was really tired as well. I didn't sleep at all on that trip. So I didn't think me driving would be the smartest thing in the world. The jet lag just absolutely murdered me. So
Oh, please. They let people drink all damn day and then drink more when they got to the place, and then they put them behind the wheel.
yeah, I know, but I don't trust myself. Like I don't think it would have been a good mix.
I bet it would have been great. You let people take their rage out on you on the track. You get into the wall or something. There's that
Yeah, it
squall.
could save a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's funny. What you were talking about wins earlier. You'll sit down when you talk about coming in, look for the wins and highlight those wins. What would you say are the biggest wins that you've noticed within the community?
So I think it's when we pull off something that goes really really well. So like Sparklet Wars, for example, I think the reintroduction of that and getting everyone excited around that, and um, I think that's a really positive change that we've made. A new seasonal event, well, off season, I guess, event
Mhm.
that's really fun, really interesting, gives something different from the base experience as well. Um, treasure hunting was a really good win for us recently. We made a bunch of changes that means the cheaters have got no chance to cheat on treasure hunting whatsoever. So that was a really cool win for us to introduce and really make some positive change within. Um, stuff like moving to the new app chain, for example. The best part about that, like the win for that, was most people didn't notice. Most people just carried on using Upland as they were before, and yeah, like it went like really smoothly, other than having a prolonged maintenance, which was kind of required.
Right.
Most people just carried on as usual with the change to the new app chain. So, like in broad strokes, in like the sort of company sense, um, that's some like good wins. As far as like my view and the way that I see things, like we've seen like an uptick in interactions on socials, for example. So that's like a good measurement of success from where I'm sitting at the very least. It shows that people are interested. It shows that people are engaged. It shows that people care. So that's a solid indication as far as I'm concerned as well. But yeah, stuff like that. It's the small things as well, like just jumping in and having a really solid conversation and getting some really solid feedback. It's doing things like this. Like at the start of the show, you gave me 2 pieces of feedback almost immediately that are really solid and really usable. And being able to find the little victories in being able to pull stuff like that out of the community and pass it along for taking a look at and potential integration at some point in the future, you know?
Yeah. So I don't know how much time you got, but I got a few more questions if you got some time.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. When you're moderating and you've had to time somebody out or ban somebody, have there been any times where you feel like you could have handled something differently or should have handled something differently um in those times of moderation where you just felt like, ah, man, maybe I kind of went too far on that one?
As far as like moderation is concerned, I feel like I'm quite careful with like before I click that button. Like I always make sure to take a moment to like take a breath before doing it to make sure it's not like a knee-jerk reaction or something like that. I would say that sometimes like my words can get misconstrued or not be the perfect usage for that situation because I'm human ultimately and language is a complex, wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, as far as like actual modification, actual moderation is concerned, like actually hitting a timeout, actually hitting a ban, I don't think so really. Like I'm quite careful with handing those out, and yeah, I just try. I try not to hand them out. Like for the most part, I hate doing that. I hate having to go to that extreme. I really like the idea of um, being able to talk everything out and get some understanding and some clarity from the other side of the conversation, because people do things for a reason ultimately,
Right.
and finding out that reason, seeing if that reason is something that we can help with is an aim. See if we can dig to the core of what's actually troubling them, and maybe it's a piece of feedback ultimately that we can use. But unfortunately, sometimes that's not possible, and sometimes the conversation doesn't end in a more sort of rational sense, and we have to take those actions. But yeah, I always try to avoid it if I possibly can.
Right. Do you ever like invite somebody to like just a private conversation? Like, hey, this sounds like, you're getting pretty heated here. What do you say we have this conversation privately and see if we can work this out versus having this in the public forum? Do you guys ever use that approach?
I've been known to, but for the most part, I think it's important that the audience can see what's going on as well, because firstly, it's a transparency thing. The more of the conversation that the people that are sitting there can see, the more they can see whether it was justified or not
Hmm.
to take further action, which I feel is a fairly um, important piece. Um, and also to correct any like misconceptions or incorrect information that that person was putting out there in the first place. Like, I don't know, Upland doesn't care about us or something like that. Well, no, we do care. We do X, Y, and Z to show that we care and to put things out there that improve the experience of the players and so on and so forth. Replying to what their exact gripe is,
Yeah.
and addressing it properly. Because again, it's in that moment, it's not necessarily about that one player. It's about the tens of thousands of other players that could potentially see it.
All right, I just happened to catch something in the chat here that was unsettling to see. Almost human, you're fucking saying some shit. All right, bud. Leave the freak offs alone. Don't bring Diddy into the picture. Okay, leave Diddy in jail where he belongs. Oh, I had a question, but like normal, almost human, I catch some stupid thing he says out of the corner of my eye. Some of his stuff is pretty funny though. And it'll sidetrack me ever so slightly. He's really good at that. I forgot the question I was going to ask you. Anyway, I'll move on. How has the community changed since you started? And how would you say your approach has evolved?
Sure. So, I mean, the community has definitely chilled a lot. Like I was saying earlier, like we went about our sort of campaign of removing negative elements and improving the overall atmosphere of the Discord by implementing that new rule set and making sure that we're policing it properly, making sure that our moderation team are policing it properly as well. So over the course of time, it's definitely chilled. It's definitely become more constructive and more useful as far as like feedback is concerned, and as far as like people getting involved and people engaging is concerned. I think it's a lot better now. And as far as my approach is concerned, I've found over time that I want to engage more and more with like individuals rather than just shouting at the group, and like focusing my time on each individual player and having a conversation with them and getting to know them properly and what makes them tick and what they're doing in Upland at that point in time, and why they're in Upland in the first place, like what really brought them in, and getting to know that kind of stuff around them. So yeah, on a more individual level, whereas before it was more speaking to a crowd. Yeah. And like putting out announcements, for example, and just broadcasting those announcements rather than getting to know the individuals. And I'm really appreciative of the fact that I get to know so many people on a daily basis at this point in time. It's really rewarding at that stage.
What other tasks are you assigned with as a community manager?
So I mean, obviously looking after the Discord, managing it, and making any improvements to it here, there, and everywhere as things come up. So like managing bots and stuff like that to try and keep the chat maintained and bits and pieces like that. The managing the social feeds and looking after those and making sure that we're staying on top of things there. I also deal with Alcatraz stuff, which I forgot to mention earlier in the stream. So like the report form that you have in this like pinned to the Discord general chat, that goes to me for me to then pass along to the Alcatraz team to weigh and judge what's been going on, try to figure out what's been going on there, if anything, if indeed anything has gone on there, and work with the team to be able to get to the right solution as far as that's concerned. But like mostly my day's talking to people, like to really boil it down, it's just talking to people and engaging with them and trying to make sure they come out of the conversation in a more positive spin than they were when they originally came into it, make sure that they come out of it better off than they were when they came in.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I like that approach. Generally that's very similar. I find a lot of similarities in this work and the work that I do working with, kids in jail, it sounds kind of odd, but yeah, I mean, it's about talking to people and building genuine relationships, and hopefully they don't want to, shit on you while you're trying to help, or, there's lots of kids that I work with that I like, but I also have to, discipline them and like give them warnings and stuff. And hopefully the relationship carries, enough to where they don't want to, assault me at the end of the day. So
yeah, and that's the goal for sure.
that's the goal. Yeah, verbally or physically. Okay. Do you have any, like, not authority? That's not the right. What I guess what's your involvement in shaping any of the roadmap stuff, or like what part do you play in that?
So obviously, I'm funneling all the feedback up towards the leadership team on a regular basis. So we have, how do you say, a finger on the pulse of how people are feeling and what the people are thinking, and what the real sort of wants or needs there are in Upland at this point in time. And then mostly the leadership team will go through and compile the roadmap itself. And then it will come back down through me for like review to make sure that everything makes sense that's on there, and everything flows properly as far as an announcement is concerned. But like, I don't have direct oversight on like what goes on to that roadmap, for example. I can just kind of advise on it to some degree by
Right.
passing that feedback along, and trying to sort of advocate for the players as much as I can for these different bits and pieces that are perhaps missing at this point in time, or things that we can improve upon.
Do you find yourself advocating for players often, like when going into like, those meetings, whatever involvement you have? How much of the community, like feedback and information that you receive, do you take forward to the team and say, hey, this is really something that the community is really asking for?
I would say quite a lot. Like, it's my job to advocate for the community as much as it's my job to spread the word of the company and to give that company's POV in different conversations and bits and pieces like that. It's as much my job to advocate for the community within the company. Because, like, for example, the developers aren't directly tied into the community because their skill set lies elsewhere, and they're fantastic at doing what their job entails. I'm glad that they don't let me anywhere near any of the code, because that wouldn't go very well.
Yeah.
But it is my job to advocate for the community towards the people that don't have the direct linkage to the community on a day-to-day basis, and looking out for their interests and making sure that all of that important stuff that is being said goes up. Like, obviously not every piece of feedback will make it through sort of, I guess, me as a filter to get passed along, because sometimes things just don't make sense necessarily, or it will be revert some change that we made that was entirely necessary to make.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, that's just not possible for the like I was saying earlier, the changes that we make that aren't necessarily popular, but for the long view of the game, they are necessary.
Like the treasure hunt
S-
change.
yeah, for example, like it was a necessity for the game's overall health to make changes there, so we were effectively forced to do so. Um, but yeah, for the most part, if it's good feedback, it will get passed along through me or through X1 as well.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like that it really is like a core part of my role to be that advocate and to really push for the changes that the community are seeking, and try my best to get them on that roadmap.
How open, this might be a loaded question. How open does it feel like the team making those decisions, and the ones that are putting things on the roadmap, how open do they seem to be to the community feedback that you're presenting?
Very much so. Like they're very interested in knowing what the community is after. Every time that we put like an item on a roadmap or make an announcement with some kind of change in it, or it's a new event or a new I don't know, a new whatever. Um, the first question they'll ask is, how will the community receive this, or what will be the community sentiment around this? What do we think from the community aspect? And that follows through as far as the feedback's concerned as well. Is like, you know, what the community saying, what areas can we improve on that are based around the community's interests, and yeah, they're very receptive to any of the feedback that we have to pass along. Like I say, we try to implement it as much and where we can. It's not always possible, but
Mhm.
we try our best with it to really push as much through that the community are really after as we can.
Yeah, the reason I ask is it does seem like sometimes Upland it does appear that sometimes they're tone deaf about some of the stuff that the community is wanting, and maybe that's just my little echo chamber of people. Maybe it's a narrow view, but you know, like some changes that come up or some things that Upland does seem like, man, you have no idea what the community wants. Like I'm going to use the carts for example, and the fact that you can Upland decide they were going to sell these shell of carts um, for 15,000 upix. Now it's nice that they're
Hmm.
for upix, that's great, but the price, at least for me, I'm like, this seems really really high, being that you could buy a cart, you know, from a UGC person, somebody selling them for about 5,000 upix. You know,
Hmm.
and so you look at that and you're like, man, Upland does not have a clue about what the secondary market is within Upland. You know, how come they constantly are, you know, like so off the mark with like sometimes the bundle sales or the go-karts or, you know, some of the other bundles that they have. It just seems like sometimes Upland isn't isn't hearing or recognizing, you know, what the community is really really after.
Well, I mean, taking the carts as an example, I think the idea there was we view the carts as having some kind of intrinsic value to them,
Mhm.
and we view them as being um, higher value than they're perhaps being sold on the secondary market. And ultimately, they did sell out
They did, yeah.
at the 15,000 asking point. And so I think that people recognize that. Actually, I saw a conversation that was being had in the UGC channel, and I forget who it was that was having it, but they said, given that Upland is selling them for 15,000 upix, maybe we should think about our prices
Oh, I couldn't agree
and
more. Yeah.
think about that our price we're undervaluing what
Mhm.
what
100%.
our stuff is worth. And I'm really glad that sparked that conversation. I there you go. Like Jacqueline has just said it there in your chat. Exactly what I was saying. Maybe it was Jacqueline that said it in the first place. I'm not sure. I really don't
Maybe.
remember. Um, but yeah, and I think that's probably the direction that 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 should be taken in. Really, I think UGC has a lot of value to it. Like there's a lot of fantastic work that's done. Some of the designs are incredible.
Yeah.
And I really think that people should be asking for more for their assets, because the time and work and, you know, let's be honest, moving those assets one by one as well
Mhm.
is time consuming and difficult to do at times. Um, I really do think that 15,000 upix is a steal for most of the UGC out there. Let alone uh, you know, obviously that was quite a basic cart for 15,000 upix. Um, but the ones from UGC are a lot more complex and a lot more uh, beautiful to to have. Um, So yeah, I really think that's a signal that should be taken from the carts, if anything, really, is to match or exceed those prices.
Yeah, no, I brought the question up, but I couldn't agree more with that. I do feel like that people are dropping prices well under what they should be. I mean, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. It is nice to have a cart worth, that only cost me, 5,000 UPIX. But at the same time, the amount of work that goes into those things, like you were saying, should be valued much higher. I would, yeah, no, again, the short answer is I couldn't agree more. People should value their items so much higher because it is a lot of work to build these things. And I don't build them. I've been a benefactor of somebody building them for me. But after you get them built and now you're putting them out there in the world, having to move them or reserve them and all the steps it takes to get it, from my hands to your hands or virtual hands is a process, and there should be a value associated to that. Yeah, I used the carts as an example. I think it was a good example to spark the conversation, but I don't necessarily think that we should be valuing carts at 5,000 UPIX. I think they should be a lot more. I think the minimum should be 10 to 15,000. And I did some conversations I was having with people that were concerned about those carts and how high they were in price. Was like, well, yeah, you don't want Upland devaluing their own asset. What does that say about the secondary? Because Upland assets hold more value than the secondary or than UGC assets do typically. So yeah, I think that was kind of the answer I was hoping you were going to say, to be honest with me, or to be honest with you. I lost my train of thought. I had a follow-up question to that one, but I'll move on. I can't remember exactly what it is. I think I got like one more for you before I let you go.
Sure.
I just gotta cherry pick the best one I wrote down here. Man, a lot of these I accidentally touched on already. I'm trying to give you one that I've reached out to you about. Well, maybe I don't have another one. Maybe I don't. I think I touched on all the things I wanted to touch on as far as those questions are concerned. I do have a question about your shirt, though. This is it Ireland?
No, this is actually an Upland branded shirt.
Oh, I was like, are you a soccer fan or?
No, so this shirt, back when we had the Porto partnership, we went out there to do some promotional work around the actual Porto stadium. Actually got to go and see a Porto match, which was really cool. So we had like some shirts made up to for the promotional purposes of that. So I thought this would be like quite a nice one to wear for the stream.
That is a nice one. We need to get that stuff in a shop somewhere, so weirdos like me can buy those things.
Yeah, we do get calls about Upland merch every so often. Just it's just coming up with the designs is always the struggle. Like looking for things that people would like really be after. We used to have a merch store at one point in time, but it was just keeping up with the new designs was just a bit of an uphill battle.
Just give us any design. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, that would be a starting point, right?
Yeah, just any design. Stick with that. Something classic, that anybody can get. And then, when you got time, throw out some funky designs as a bonus. And those will probably sell out quick. I just want some Upland shirts, to be honest with you. Maybe a hat, a scarf. I don't know. I just want some merch. I got the one shirt from when I went to Genesis Week G Week Live, which was awesome, But I think having merch in the store would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's something I can take back. Like, as I say, I've heard it from a few different people that they'd love to pick up some kind of Upland merch. I don't know what that would look like, but I can certainly take it back.
Yeah, just tell them that the whole community just really embellish this a lot. Say the whole community, they're screaming at me. We need more Upland merch. It's It's a tragedy we don't. People want to represent Upland and have a nice conversation, because you wear that shit out there in the street and people are like, what the hell is Upland? You're like, well, let me tell you about what Upland is. You're in for a treat here, right? Versus
Yeah, it's definitely a conversation starter.
yeah, hell yeah, it is. And it's good advertising, which I feel like Upland doesn't do a good enough job at. Why don't we have more advertising for Upland? I doubt this is within your wheelhouse, but why? Why, Squall?
Yeah, I mean that's not really under my remit, but I think it's to do with like market conditions and stuff like that. Like it's not like an optimal time to plunge loads of money into marketing because of just how markets are at the moment and stuff like that. But I mean, it's all stuff that's outside of my jurisdiction at least. But yeah, like I think it's something to do with that.
Miles plushies. Damn, I want a
Yeah,
Miles plushie, something fierce.
that would be
They-
cool.
That would be super
Plushies
cool.
are expensive to get made custom though. Like I've seen like a few different creators get their own custom plushies made, and they are pricey to get made. So maybe not on the plushies, but I can see about like t-shirts and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe give it maybe some berets or something with the Upland logo on it. Beret.
The good luck.
Yeah. Well, Squall, I'm sure I have a million other questions. I actually do have one more.
Okay.
When do we get to hear? Please tell me you can answer this question. When do we get to hear about the classic car? Who wins?
Oh, that we are drawing that the historic stock clutter thing,
Yes.
right? As we were talking about.
Yes.
We are drawing that I think tomorrow, so we'll probably announce it tomorrow.
Okay, draw my name. That's all I'm asking. Draw my name. It's
I'm not allowed
L
near the
underscore
drawing.
Slack.
They don't let me near the drawings. I think I'd be
Yeah.
too biased.
Well, that's not fair. Oh yeah, because you have to have all these relationships with the community. People like, ooh, now this guy's a douchebag. You got to send him back. Ban.
Yeah, that's it. Dunsky.
Yeah, you're done. See ya. Well, anyway, this has been fun. I really appreciate you coming on and hanging out and answering all my questions. Hopefully, I was nice enough.
Yeah, it's been good fun. It's been a nice conversation. I'm glad that we managed to meander through most of your questions, even if we didn't directly get to them. We managed to touch upon them in some way, shape, or form, which is very nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been really good fun.
Has been a really good time. Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, I look forward to seeing you in, general, silencing people, banning people, and overall just owning that space. It's real fun. And we'll have to do this again sometime when they got some real hot people. Maybe we'll bring them on and we can duke it out on screen. That'll be fun, huh?
I think I'll leave that one to you.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, sir. Well, I'm going to end this here, but hang out for a second, and then we can wrap things up after this is done.
Sure.
Right. Thanks, everybody, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. All right. See ya.